What up, Rafalitos? Welcome back to my channel. We are back at Ogle. This is the Ogle Airport Road, the entrance to the new East Coast Bypass Road. Behind me, that is the East Coast Road. Now, that is the road that China helped build, the one behind me. So recently there was a visit by the US Secretary of State, Mr. Marco Rubio, and the government of Guyana decided to welcome him at Timeri by taking him on a drive through along the new roads that were built, the new Heroes Highway. And on returning or leaving Guyana, Mr. Rubio declared that Heroes Highway is the concussion road. Now, there are a number of misstatements in his assessment, one of which is that the Heroes Highway was built by the Chinese. The Heroes Highway was built by Guyanese contractors and not Chinese contractors, because, as I've said in several videos in the past, the Chinese contractors actually build better infrastructure than Guyanese. However, this road, the one behind me, this one, the East Coast Road, this one was built by the Chinese. And if you go along East Coast Road, particularly as you go past, say, Good for Wacton and Atlanticville and so on, further up the East Coast, you'll find that it is in fact a very, very good road and nothing like the Heroes Highway. The one I'm on right now is being built by the Indians. So this is the Indian government and Indian contractors that are building this road, which is the East Coast Bypass Road. And the difference you can see between this road, the East Coast Bypass Road, and Heroes Highway is that Heroes Highway was built with concrete. So the entire surface of Heroes Highway is poured concrete, whereas these roads that were built by the Chinese and the Indians are covered with asphalt. And asphalt allows you to make a smoother road, whereas the concrete roads tend to have undulations and dips, and it's very, very rough. And what Marco Rubio was reporting on is how it felt to drive along Heroes Highway. And what I'm going to do is bring you an update as I describe for you the difference between Guyanese contracting, Guyanese engineering, and what they've built here. The Indians have built here and the Chinese have built on the East Coast. So let's take a look at the differences. So guys, like I said, Heroes Highway was built by Guyanese contractors. But this road, this East Coast Road, the one I'm looking at right now, this one was built by Chinese contractors. And if you go further up, you will see what that means. The roads have turning lanes. That is the roads that are built by the Chinese. They have turning lanes. And similarly, the road here, this one was built by the Indian contractors on a loan from the Indian government. So a lot of these the workers on this road were actually Indian nationals. And as you can see, there's a turning lane here as the road reaches the intersection with the East Coast. All right, so traffic that wants to turn right can pull over to the median and wait for the light change and then turn onto that major road. Across the street, that is Pradoville. As you see, the sign says Ogle. And Pradoville is one of those neighborhoods that the current government developed for friends and family of the ruling party, PPP. But back to this road, what we're doing today is taking a look at the progress, because some people have asked me to do a further review of what's happening here on the East Coast Bypass Road. They want to know if it's been completed. Well, in fact, it has not been completed. What they have done since the last time we've been here is they've covered the east and left and west sides of this road with asphalt. So now both sides of the road that is at the entrance are covered with asphalt, and they seem to have made some progress. They seem to have made some progress with the median, working on the median. This building is, of course, another rental apartment complex. It's called Ogle Townhouses. That seems to be closer to completion. They have what seems to be parking. That was a very narrow parking line. It's probably parking for motorcycles. I thought this might be parking on the outside. Anyway, it looks as if they've completed the outside of these townhouses. So yes, guys, what I'm saying about the construction of this road is that the Indians and the Chinese have covered their roads, the roads that they've built, with asphalt. And the thing about asphalt is that you can make for a smoother road because it's kind of like a fluid, right? This material, this asphalt, when you lay it on the road surface, it's kind of soft, and then you can roll it and eventually achieve a smooth surface. The problem with concrete is you can't roll it. You can't roll concrete after you've laid it, after it's hardened. You cannot roll it into a smooth surface. And that's the problem with Heroes Highway. The road was built with concrete, but they never finished it with covering the surface with asphalt. And so what you have is an undulating surface, a rough surface. Now, people might argue that the roughness is useful because it, adds to traction. But what is not useful is the dips and the bumps. And there are so many of them that if your car doesn't have a very good suspension system, you could actually feel it in the seats. And this is in fact what Mr. Rubio is describing as a concussion. You could have a concussion driving down those roads. If you're in a car without very good suspension, you could be bouncing around and probably hit your head against the ceiling and be tossed around because the road surface is undulating, it's bumpy, it's rough. And that's because you cannot roll concrete. You can't roll concrete surfaces to make them smooth. So what they have to do next is to cover that East Coast Bypass Road, which is now called Heroes Highway. They have to cover that road with asphalt. Now remember when I started driving in Brooklyn, right? When I started, it's like in the 90s. I don't know if the situation still exists, but I discovered that the Belt Parkway was actually made with slabs of concrete. And those of you who are familiar with driving on the belt, you would remember or recall, I don't know if it still happens now, that as you drive along, you would hear the wheels, the tires making a rhythmic sound. Now, cup, 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 as you cross over the seams, the joints. And parts of that Belt Parkway, they cover that concrete slabs with asphalt, and then you would hear a smoother ride. So it's not that you can't build roads with concrete. It's that if you want to have it smooth, then you have to cover the concrete after it's built. After it's set, you have to cover it with asphalt. Now this is as far as the East Coast Bypass Road has been completed at this point. So it is not yet completed. There are sections of this road that are still under construction. This part is before you get to the train line road, right, the railway road. So half of the Ogle Airport section of East Coast Bypass Road is still under construction. still to be completed. And that's what this represents. Now this road, like I said, is being built by the Indians. And as you can see, they have laid about 6 inches of asphalt onto the surface of the rocks that they've laid down below. That was never done with Heroes Highway. So in a sense, Heroes Highway is not yet completed. The road has not yet been reached its final stage. Last time we were here, they had just completed this culvert. So this is actually a culvert, and now they're going to build, I think they're building the walls on either side of this bridge. But as you can see, the eastern side, the eastern half of this road is not yet completed. But the western side is open to traffic, and that's traffic heading into and out of Ogle Airport. This is looking back towards the intersection with the East Coast Road. This is the East Coast Bypass Road. So they had to fill in a canal. They had to fill in a wide canal to get this width. And that's what we're looking at. All the piles of sand was actually brought here to fill the canal. And I guess now they're gonna level it off and build the road surface. So this road is not yet complete. Some people were asking me to visit this road. Now this is the East Coast end. The other end of this road is at Eccles. And I once made a trip all the way from Eccles, from the Eccles end to the East Coast end. It's about 7 miles. 7 miles. In fact, I don't know if I'm going to make that trip today. I will probably just do a little bit of it today and then come back at the other end, at the Eccles end, and make the other trip. This is the railway road. It's also being widened, so you can see this is eventually going to become a 4-lane highway. We've seen they've started working on that back up at Sheriff Street, which you've seen in the previous video. But this is what it looks like at this end. This is what the East Coast Bypass Road looks like at this end. It has not yet been completed, and they're still working on building out the west or the east half of the road, but they've actually completed the west half and have opened it to traffic. It's not a plane from Ogle. It's Saturday morning in Georgetown, Saturday the 29th of March, and it's a busy morning for Ogle Airport. And here now, the guy is constructing this East Coast Bypass Road. So where are we with the construction of the East Coast Bypass Road? They're still working on it. It seems as if this section is still to be formed. Last time we were here, there were still piles of sand.